my next guest, who I love having on, is Marc Jacques of the Gouvernement de Canada, the Government of Canada. Bonjour. Again, I talked about cross-border and cooperation, and I know you're in the midst of always dozens, if not hundreds, of projects. So why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about what you're really working on, the engineering behind the economics of Canada in New England?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, Canada and the U.S. have the largest trading relationship on the planet, and it's continually expanding. This is the 20th anniversary of NAFTA. So since 1994, those numbers have grown exponentially. And right now, one of the ways that we're helping to grow that relationship is through two programs which were engineered by the Harper and Obama administrations starting in February 2011, the Beyond the Border Action Plan and the Regulatory Cooperation Council. The Beyond the Border Action Plan, or BTB, is something that's more related to security issues, border infrastructure. And where that impacts the economy and companies is the idea that with improvements at the border, if we have waiting times that companies can get smaller, obviously the less time they're at the border, the more money they're making, the more they're able to make and sell across the border.
Well, we don't like those. We don't like that Highgate Springs lineups.
That's right, exactly. And there are programs such as Nexus, which is a dedicated line at the border,
right?
Which is for trusted travelers and trusted traders. So for companies that go through an extensive screening process beforehand, they can take part in these programs, and then they won't have to wait in the long line like everybody. Likewise, with different security measures, if we can keep that secure border, we can then make sure that individuals, travelers,
limits pirating.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
And illegal immigration, drug trafficking, that kind of thing. But back
is this for all of North America or just Canada, United States?
No, this is a Harper Obama program.
So it doesn't include Mexico.
Yeah, it's with NAFTA. Obviously, we work with all three countries to help try to provide different measures to improve security. But in this one, we're really concentrating on that northern border. Again, with the idea that when we have almost $700 billion worth of trade per year, we want to continue making that grow, and it's really only through security. The U.S. since 9/11 has often said security trumps trade, and we can understand that. So we need to work together to better clarify our defense and security needs, and then work together to help provide more better infrastructure at the border, and that impacts the economy.
And
so for companies that are,
I see that as a facilitative role. It's facilitating the ability for the entrepreneur and the business person to do business on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you're a manufacturer of goods here in New England and you make widgets and you sell them to Canada, every time that you're sitting at the border for an extra hour, that's money you're losing.
And adding cost to the product.
Exactly, and ergo the consumer.
Right.
Moving on to that Regulatory Cooperation Council program I mentioned, that is specifically in regards to economics, where there are a number of working groups in different industry sectors, such as consumer goods, healthcare products, medical devices, automobiles, where it's the regulations between the two countries that don't match, where companies lose money. They've got to make two different kinds of products, which adds to their cost. At the end of the day, costs more for the consumer.
And I would assume the Americans would want, because of the economy of scale, they would want the Canadians to comply to an American model.
Oftentimes that is.
So it's a negotiation.
Exactly.
A compromise.
Idea, sovereign nations don't like being told what to do, so oftentimes it's a negotiation. And that's where the working groups for the Regulatory Cooperation Council are really important, because it's not just government officials getting together. It's actually the business people, the working groups there in those industries getting together and saying, okay, what can we do?
Do you also work on the free flow of people going back and forth for work? Because that's always been an issue as well.
That was something that, there was a hope that would be discussed with NAFTA or NAFTA in the future. And that is still one of the big problems. But that's where, within the Beyond the Border Action Plan, the Trusted Traveler and the Trusted Trader programs, where not just companies, but individuals can also go through that pre-screening process and become part of that program where, they when they get to the border, it's a much quicker screening.